Cleveland Browns opened up day 8 as far as Browns OTA. Shedeur Sanders started first team amongst all quarterbacks, and he absolutely lit it up today as far as practice. Mandatory minicamp begins next week. Definitely excited about this QB competition. Before we get started with some of the highlights, I want to give a shout out to Daniel Oyefuzi, Browns reporter, insider that's actually boots on the ground. He says Shedeur Sanders began 11 on 11s to start out first team offense.
The Cleveland Browns have made their decision. They didn't announce it, they didn't hold a press conference, they didn't tell the media, but they made it. And if you watched what happened on that practice field during day 8 of OTAs, you already know. The strange thing is, they keep calling this a competition. Every press conference, every reporter, every segment on NFL Network. Open competition. Nobody has won the job yet. Both guys are getting reps. But here's what nobody is asking. If this is truly an open competition, why does one quarterback keep getting the first team reps in every single competitive session? By the end of this video, you're going to see the rep distribution, the body language, the jersey number war that broke out on day 8, and one specific moment with Jarrett Verse that tells you everything about where this franchise believes it's going. And you're going to wonder why nobody else covered this angle.
Now, it was reported that a lot of Shedeur Sanders 11 on 11s today. He's been the first quarterback up in each competitive session. Browns reporter Dale Reuter also stated that lots of Shedeur Sanders reps today in 11 on 11, and we'll leave it at that. Hashtag Browns. So for the most part, that's exactly what we want to see. Shedeur Sanders stack up these days every single.
There is a specific kind of silence inside an NFL facility when a franchise has been broken. Not loud, not angry, just quiet. The kind of quiet that lives in the walls. That's what Cleveland was carrying into this offseason. The Deshaun Watson era didn't just fail, it collapsed publicly, slowly, expensively, in a way that cost this organization $330 million, multiple first-round picks, and 4 seasons of competitive football that will never come back. Think about that number. 4 seasons of the city watching their team spiral while the quarterback they'd bet everything on threw for under 2,000 yards in 2024. And then, in the 5th round of the 2025 NFL Draft, they made the call that nobody fully expected. They took Shedeur Sanders. Not in the 1st round, not in the 2nd. The football world laughed, or shook its head, or both. Value pick, steal of the draft, prove it at the next level. But here's what those takes missed. A franchise that just burned $300 million on the wrong man doesn't quietly take a quarterback in the 5th round as a depth move. That is not what happened here. And day 8 of OTAs proved it.
Chance to compete obviously is very important when it comes to this QB battle. Now let's move forward. We had Jarrett Verse first practice today, rocking that number 8. Him and Dillon Gabriel is fighting for it because Dillon Gabriel also was wearing number 8 today as well.
Let's start with what you can actually see. Day 8 of Browns OTAs, final week before mandatory minicamp. Shedeur Sanders does not rotate into 11 on 11s. He opens them. First team offense every competitive session. That is not random. That is not a coincidence of the schedule. In an NFL practice, who runs with the ones is a message, and the message has a sender. And it wasn't just one session. Beat reporters on the ground, multiple, confirmed lots of Shedeur reps, first team all day. His body doesn't look like a guy auditioning. It looks like a guy who already passed the audition and is now working on his craft. 2 separate Browns reporters confirmed first-team reps for Shedeur on day 8. One noted it specifically in the context of 11 on 11s. Now, that sounds like routine practice coverage, and that's exactly the problem, because routine coverage of an open QB competition does not include the same name every single time. When reporters stop mentioning the competition and start reporting what he did today, that tells you something. Then Jarrett Verse walks onto the practice field. Day 1 is a Cleveland Brown. First impression, new building, new teammates watching. And he comes out wearing number 8. the same number Dillon Gabriel, the incumbent, had already claimed. 2 players, same number, same practice. That is not a clerical error. Number assignments in the NFL are not accidents. This organization let that situation exist on day 1 of Jared Verse's tenure, which means the organization already knows that number is changing hands. They're just letting the players work it out. Shedeur Sanders finished day 8 with touchdowns to Cedric Tilman and Jeudy. He had a near connection to Isaiah Bond that Bond dropped. The ball was right there. This wasn't a numbers day. This was a statement day, and the numbers just confirmed what the reps already said. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you watched a franchise spend a 5th-round pick on a quarterback and immediately give him first-team reps in competitive OTA sessions? Take your time. I'll wait.
Let's talk about what's actually happening inside Shedeur Sanders' mind right now. Because this is not a football story. This is a psychology story. Shedeur Sanders spent 2 years at Colorado being told repeatedly that he was a first-round talent playing for a flashy program with an inflated reputation. The draft fell. The outside world got loud. A 5th-round pick carries a specific kind of social weight. It follows you into every room you enter. The question isn't whether Shedeur heard that noise. The question is, what does a person do when their entire self-concept is built around being a franchise quarterback and the world publicly questions whether that's true? Some players collapse under that weight. They start playing to prove something external. They stop playing their game and start playing other people's expectations of their game. But watch Shedeur's body language when he lines up with the ones. He does not look like a man proving something. He looks like a man settling in. Perceived locus of control. That is a player who believes the outcome is still in his hands. He's not outsourced his fate to draft grade or media narrative or what the depth chart said in April. He showed up on day 1. He kept showing up. And on day 8, he lit it up with the ones. The organization's psychology. Now flip the lens. What does a front office show when it gives a 5th-round quarterback first-team reps in OTAs? That is not hedge behavior. That is not, we're keeping our options open. That is commitment behavior. Quiet, deniable in press conferences, but unmistakable on the field. Think about it from Dillon Gabriel's perspective for a second. You're a quarterback who came into camp with a jersey number. You've held it. It's yours. And then, on day 8, Jared Verse walks onto your practice field wearing it. Verse doesn't ask. Verse doesn't negotiate. He practices in it, like it's already decided. Because for Verse, it probably already is. Now think about what that moment looks like to the rest of the roster watching. Because the locker room is always watching, and the locker room understands signals that never make it into a press conference. Franchises tell you the truth, just not in press conferences. They tell you in depth chart timing, in rep distribution, in which player gets the consistent beat reporter attention, in which player is framed as the story, and which player is framed as the competition. Watch the language around Shedeur Sanders right now. Beat reporters are not writing, Shedeur got his reps today as part of the QB competition. They're writing, lots of Shedeur Sanders reps today in 11-on-11s. That is a different sentence. That is a different framing. That is a reporter who has watched enough NFL practices to know what they're looking at and has stopped pretending it's unclear. When head coach Kevin Stefanski or Todd Monken says, it's a competition, what he actually means is, we have a process we need to respect publicly. That's not a lie, it's just not the full truth. And then there's Jared Verse. This organization went out and got a defensive end who already walks like he owns the building before he's taken a single official snap. A player with that kind of alpha energy on day 1 sends a message about where this franchise believes it's going. You don't bring in Jared Verse to protect a quarterback you're not sure about. You bring in Jared Verse because you think you're building something. But you understand why all of this matters. We have to go back to the moment the Browns made the 5th-round pick. because the public read that as a consolation, a better than nothing. But watch what happened immediately after. The rep distribution at OTAs, the first team assignments, the jersey number conflict on day 8. Those are not the moves of a franchise that thinks they drafted a backup. Those are the moves of a franchise that thinks they found their guy and is slowly, carefully, deniably confirming it, one practice at a time. 53 men are watching this unfold right now, and most of them have already made their read. When Jared Verse walks in on day 1 wearing a contested number and nobody stops him, that locker room clocks it. When Shedeur gets the first team 11-on-11 reps every time, that locker room clocks it. Chemistry is built in moments like these, or it fractures in them. The signal so far says this group is coalescing around a leader. The question is, how fast? If the evidence reads the way it looks, if Shedeur Sanders walks into Week 1 as the starter, Cleveland has a ceiling that this franchise hasn't had since their best Baker Mayfield season. They have weapons, they have a new defensive identity with Verse, they have a rookie quarterback playing with nothing to lose and everything to prove. That combination is dangerous, specifically because nobody is taking them seriously yet. 3 years from now, if this works, people will look back at Day 8 of OTAs 2025 as the day it was already decided, and they'll wonder why the mainstream coverage completely missed it. I told you at the start, the Cleveland Browns have already made their decision. They just haven't told anyone yet. Now you've seen it. The reps, the language, the jersey, the body language, the organizational signals. They made it. Because underneath all of it, past the rep counts and the press conference non-answers and the jersey number standoffs, there is a young man who was told, loudly by the most powerful gatekeepers in professional football, that he wasn't worth a first-round investment. And he walked onto that practice field on day 8 with the first-team offense, threw touchdowns to Jeudy and Cedric Tilman, and looked like someone who never once believed what they said about him. That's not a football story. That's a story about what happens when belief doesn't ask for permission. So here's what I want to know. Is Shedeur Sanders the guy who finally ends the Cleveland quarterback curse? Or is this franchise falling in love with a story again before the player has earned it? Drop it below. I'll be reading every one.